Today we have a digital Q&A with Ben Adams from Inovor Technologies. Welcome, Ben.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Before we begin today's meeting, I'd like to acknowledge that this session is being hosted on the traditional lands of Kaurna people. I recognise their connection to the land, sea and skies and pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging. And I'd like to extend that respect to any First Nations people here today. My name is Tegan Duke. I am a science communicator here at the Australian Space Discovery Centre in Adelaide. And today I am assisted behind the scenes by Mitch, Nate and Lucky. Today we are joined by Ben Adams, who is the Chief Operating Officer for Inovor Technologies. If you have any questions during our chat, please submit them via the chat function or ask your teacher to submit any questions for you. Our session will wrap up at about 3 p.m. Australian Central Standard Time. So let's get started. It's wonderful to have you with us today, Ben. Could you please tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi everyone, I'm Ben Adams, Chief Operating Officer for Inovor. It's great to be here with everyone. I'm really looking forward to the chat, being able to talk all things space. So as you see from this slide, there's a bit of a catch line there of dad, dancer and motorsport enthusiast. So maybe I'll touch on that before we get into the space side of my life. So while space dominates my daytime, I guess I've got at least three other passions outside of that. The first one of those is I'm a passionate dancer and now a dance teacher. I started dancing some 15 years ago now and continue to stick at it through a range of different Latin dance styles. And the one that I teach in is one called Brazilian Zouk, which is not very well known in the public domain, but is a fantastic dance. It's something that I'm really passionate about, and I share my love of that with all the students when we teach on a Wednesday night. If anyone's ever interested in dancing, please drop me a line at either of those social media lines you can see down the bottom there on that screen. I'd be happy to share that with you further. It's also a really great opportunity to think about how to speak in public like I'm doing right now, which is again another opportunity that I get regularly in my day job. So the next thing there, team, is a really big motorsport and classic car enthusiast. So this started from very young in life. I've grown up in a family of MG owners, which transforms forward to today having a 1948 MG myself, which is just the best thing to get out and drive. It's certainly not fast, but it's all about the experience, and it really makes people stop and look, whether they're young children right through to grandmas or grandpas. It's something that really stands out on the road, so that's really cool. And then the third thing for me is, as I get part of that, here we go. So you can see my MG there, and on the left hand side and on the right. My daughter's a big fan of that car. She particularly likes being dropped off at school in a car like that. As you can imagine, it sort of stands out amongst all the modern vehicles. You can see lots of dancing photos there as well. So top left and bottom middle is a couple of different performances that I did a couple of years ago. But social dancing is a big part of the Latin dance scene, which you can see in bottom left and almost the bottom right. So being able to have that non-verbal conversation on the dance floor, and being able to kind of get out there and express, part of the arts rather than the engineering side of what happens in the day job is really great for me. The other big passion is I'm a dad, and I'm a dad who's got a daughter who's really passionate about Formula One. So I love motorsport, and thankfully so does she. So she's a big Oscar Piastri fan from the Formula One, Australian Formula One driver. And we spend a lot of time watching qualifying in the races together whenever they're on. And she was very lucky up in that top right-hand corner to meet Valtteri Bottas at the Adelaide Motorsport Festival last year and get his autograph, which was a really terrific experience for her. So here's a bit more what the work life looks like. A couple of shots of there with some of the team and one of our satellites there on the left-hand side, which I can talk about more a little bit later on in the presentation.
Yeah, awesome. So you're a Chief Operating Officer at Inovor Technologies. Could you explain for us what that means?
That's a very good question, and it can mean different things in different companies. But for me, what it means is I'm involved in a couple of key different areas in the business. I look after the project management team and the systems engineering team, and I'm responsible for the delivery of our different satellite missions. I also look after the corporate services side of our business. So think about ICT, finance, HR, stock control, the security. I'm a security officer for the company. So that's sort of the corporate services part of the company. And then I also play a big part in the business development for the company too. So I'm regularly in discussions with customers about upcoming opportunities. So it's a really diverse role, which I think is typical of the Chief Operating Officer sort of role. And I love that diversity because every day is different. I get to meet lots of really interesting people. I get to work with lots of really smart people, and I get to get out and talk to our customers too, which is another part of the job I really enjoy.
Awesome. And maybe could you provide an overview of what Inovor does?
Yes, so we're a spacecraft manufacturer at heart. So we have a very diverse range of things that we do in the space market, but fundamentally we've come from a base of helping get customers' payloads into space. So customers can come into us and say, we've got this type of payload, which might be a type of camera or a type of sensor, and we build the satellite platform around that and integrate their payload into our satellite and help arrange and get that into orbit. And once there, we then operate the satellite for them. The other thing that we do in space is we have a couple of particular specialist applications that we're chasing. The best one to talk about today is actually the satellite that you can see there in the picture. It's called Hyperion, and it's all about developing a capability for safe and sustainable space operations. And we do that by providing space situational awareness. And what that means is we're able to detect, track, and characterize the satellites that are in space. So what we do is provide a series of satellites in low Earth orbit, and we're looking out to all the higher orbits to be able to monitor for space traffic management and space situational awareness, what the other objects are in space and where they are, and then help contribute to collision avoidance activities or understanding where space junk might be to help manage that too.
Awesome. It sounds like you have a very exciting career. I was wondering if you could tell us about an experience that was incredibly rewarding or challenging as your role as the Chief Operating Officer.
So for me, I mean, the most rewarding thing that's happened so far in my career is definitely Inovor's first satellite, and can I say the first satellite funded by the Australian Space Agency called Spirit that was launched in December of last year. So, from an Inovor perspective and my personal perspective, this is years and years and years of work of the company to be able to build up a set of technology that we could then, win a proposal with this Australian Space Agency to build their first funded satellite and get that into space. So, there's no such thing as overnight success. There's years of toiling away, building up all of the intellectual property, all of the software, all of the electrical components, all of the mechanical structure, everything that you need to be able to put together a satellite, plus all of our mission operations to control that satellite when it's on orbit. To get all of that working and get it onto a rocket and see it work first time was incredibly rewarding and a great testament to the team here at Inovor and all of the engineering team. I think it's pretty common saying is to say space is hard, and that is still very true. And it's also very common that the first time you go into space, what you place there doesn't work. So we were, really, really pleased. Not only has it worked, it's worked really successfully, and all of our partners are very happy with that as well. So that's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, how good. We'd love to hear about your journey to where you are now. Could you tell us a bit about your path to get here?
Absolutely. So my path has maybe been different to some. I had a whole different career leading up to my journey to then coming into the space industry. So what I did about 8 or so years ago now was recognize that I was roughly mid-career, and I was doing things that I felt like I was competent in and that I enjoyed. So things like being involved in technology, project management, and leadership type skills. But I was looking for something, an organization or an industry to work in that I was really passionate about as well, because I realized that if you can connect your passion with your competencies and work on that for your job, then your work life is just so much more exciting and rewarding. So what I did was start researching what industries could that be in. And for me, from that first slide, you won't be surprised to know I did look at Formula One and how I could be involved in motorsport. But the other thing I looked at was how I could be involved in space. So I did some research about those and found that space was the best step for me. And I started that by visiting the International Astronautical Congress when it was here in Adelaide, some 7 years or so years ago. And I visited the booth of the International Space University, and I found out that they ran a course here in Adelaide called the Southern Hemisphere Space Studies Program. There's a 5-week, 7-day-a-week intensive course run at Mawson Lakes with people from all around the world, both the people that are teaching you, but also the cohort that you're learning with as well. And I did that course and that changed everything. What that course does is give you a high level view across all the disciplines of the space industry. But as importantly, or maybe even more importantly, it does is connect you with a whole range of people in the space industry, both locally and internationally. So, for example, we had the Chief Innovation Officer from NASA as the project director on that course. We had a South Korean astronaut with us, and we had lots of people already working for their space agencies in their home countries as students. And the amount of things that I learned on that course and the people that I met was instrumental. I then went on to do some postgraduate study with the University of South Australia after that. And then through all of the things I'd learned and the people that I'd met, gradually networked my way into the job with Inovor, and then I've just sort of gradually grown that role here in Lot 14. So it's been a tremendous experience, and I've met so many interesting people, and I'm only 6 years or so into this new career in the space industry.
Yeah, it's never too late to join the space industry. And speaking of the International Space University, for any audience members, I saw they are currently accepting applications for next year's Southern Hemisphere Space Program in January, if anyone is interested in applying for that online.
Can I quickly add one more thing to that as well? Not
Yes.
only would I highly recommend you take a look at that, but when you see that there was a course fee, of course, that goes with studying at a university, and I just wanted to let everyone know as well, there's lots of opportunities for sponsorship to be able to help you pay those fees as well. So please don't be put off by the money. It's well worth the exercise. And there's scholarship opportunities, sponsorship opportunities that are out there. Happy for people to reach out to me afterwards if they want to learn more.
Thank you. And yes, your time at Inovor, you didn't start as a Chief Operating Officer. Could you tell us about your career growth within the company?
Yeah, so what I did was I was really looking to pair all of the things that I'd learned in the earlier part of my career and think about how I could then add the space qualifications to then make myself a more attractive candidate to come into the space industry. So my first job with Inovor was to project manage the missions that the team had going at the time. So that was a tremendous way for me to come in and learn all about how the mission hangs together, what all the important parts are. Of course, understand both the technology aspect of how you build a satellite and how to schedule that, but also all of the people that are required to get that job done. So I did that for a period of time and then was gradually able to diversify my skills within the company. One of the advantages of working for a small company, Inovor was 15 people when I started, is that you can get involved in anything that you're good at. So unlike a large company where you're a little bit more boxed in by a particular role that you might have, a small company has the advantage of being able to be more flexible in what you might do. So I just kept demonstrating those skills that I had and what else I could offer. and then gradually moved into an operations manager role, and then eventually into the chief operating officer, so really adding in the strategic aspect of that operations manager role to leave me in the COO position. So again, I'd reinforce for people coming into the industry, it doesn't matter whether you're starting off as a grad or maybe mid-career like me. Once you're in, there's so many different places that you can go.
Yeah, awesome. And since you've been in the space industry for 7 or 8 years, can you tell us a little bit about your understanding of how the space industry in Australia has changed over that time?
Yeah, so it's been a really interesting period. I came in about the time that the Australian Space Agency was beginning, and that was really, really important step that the government took to make sure that we had in Australia a representative body that both local industry could engage with, but importantly, international space agencies could engage with. And so it's been on a great journey that the Australian Space Agency has been on in order to grow the industry in this country and provide us with lots of funding opportunities to be able to help demonstrate our technology, and then importantly get us ready to be able to sell that commercially, whether that's in Australia but also internationally. Because one of the other functions of the Space Agency is to grow the international links between Australia and other countries. So whether that's NASA in America or JAXA in Japan or ESA in Europe, those relationships with those different space agencies is really important to us. And the Space Agency also facilitates engagements for companies like us with other companies internationally through those partnerships that we can then partner with and look to grow either what we might be offering to within Australia or being able to offer into the export market. So the growth of the Space Agency has been really, really important. I think another important part has been things like the SmartSat CRC, or Cooperative Research Council. That's been, again, large sum of money secured that the government has funded into the SmartSat CRC to fund a whole range of different research opportunities in Australia. So growing that research base is really important for the growth of new and disruptive technologies. So as many may know already, there are other countries who have much more money like America than us in their budgets. But I want to reassure everyone that there's lots of niche fields that we can be playing in and specialising in, and that research money is really important to be able to grow that capability. And especially if anyone listening is interested in being able to be a market disruptor or create their own company, there are plenty of opportunities in the market to still find specialisation within Australia. The other thing that I've seen is the universities starting to pivot towards being able to have more specialist subjects or even degrees now for focusing on the space industry. So technically the type of people that we employ are predominantly engineers across many different disciplines. So think software or electrical or mechanical or aerospace. But now we're starting to see master's degrees, but also bachelor degrees coming out that are starting to specialise more in the space industry. So again, to grow the really smart people that companies like us need to be able to employ, to be able to undertake the sort of work that we're doing. And then finally, the last thing I've seen is lots and lots of interest by international firms in what's going on here in Australia. And I think that's a credit to, again, the Space Agency, but also government bodies like Austrade, who's the federal government body that helps to promote trade and export, by all of us, industry included, going overseas and appearing at different industry conferences. It's been very interesting to see large companies like Lockheed Martin, who have always been here and always been doing amazing things, but are now recognising the huge potential of smaller companies like Inovor and what we're able to offer, again, both locally and internationally. And we're very pleased to be able to be part, for example, of their Mentor Protege program. So that's a program that Lockheed runs to grow small companies like us and help them mature, not just on the technical side of their business, but also on the operational side of their business. And we're only the third company outside of the US in 34 years to be chosen to be on this program. And it's been a really busy and exciting year for us, being able to go through this big learning program with Lockheed to help upskill us so that we can be ready to provide into their supply chain in the time to come.
Yeah, awesome. I saw that Inovor Technologies won the Space Business of the Year award last year. What does the future hold for Inovor?
So we're looking at lots of different opportunities at the moment. It would be remiss of me not to mention that we have another launch coming up very, very soon. So the South Australian government satellite called Kanyini will launch in a couple of weeks' time. So please look out
Exciting.
on social media. Super exciting again for the team to have our second satellite in space. Please follow Inovor on LinkedIn or Twitter or Instagram or all three, and then you'll see lots of updates coming up. Kanyini is a really exciting partnership between us, Myriota, who's another South Australian space success story, who are all focused around an Internet of Things capability, and also partnered with the SmartSat CRC, who together are delivering a satellite for the South Australian government. So Kanyini will launch soon and do a couple of different things. One is it's got a focus around sensing of things to do with the environment and things like bushfire detection or detecting fire through clouds. It's got the ability to be able to help with disaster recovery and a whole range of different use cases that the South Australian government is going to investigate in conjunction with the research the SmartSat CRC and its partners will do, and obviously with help from Myriota and Inovor. So we're very excited to be operating our second spacecraft really soon. We're going up on SpaceX's Transporter 11. So yeah, please follow along for that.
Super exciting. So speaking of the future, what do you think the future of space for Australia will look like in 2050?
2050.
Oh, sorry, 2030.
Wow.
Not too far away, 2030. Sorry.
Look, I think we're just going to be getting bigger and better from where we are. We're just continuing to grow capability. I think one of the real key growth areas for us is beyond the satellite technology that we have and how we're going to grow that. Other places in the market we're going to see. We've just seen the Technology Safeguards Agreement come into play. There's an agreement between the US and Australian governments that allows US rockets to be able to launch from Australia. And this is a fantastic opportunity for launch service providers in Australia, like Southern Launch here in South Australia, to be able to launch from their Whalers Way facility and have, I guess, a whole range of other commercial opportunity for them to be able to explore. So, something that we're very passionately Australian, and I have to say South Australian as well. And what we are really hoping for the Australian sector is that we are going to have by 2030 really developed out and matured end-to-end capability, from building payloads with companies like Myriota, building propulsion systems for satellites like Newman Space does, us of course building more and more satellites, but then having the ability to be able to launch those from Australia would be a terrific capability for us to have in play, which I think is really important for both defence and commercial and civil applications here in the country. But I think it's a really important opportunity and growth area for really cool jobs for young people coming out of university, because you just get to meet such interesting people and work on really cool technology. It's a really optimistic view that I've got for where we're going in the next 5 or 6 years.
Awesome. And what do you think the biggest challenges for Australia in the space industry will be, and how do you think we might overcome these?
I think we need to believe in ourselves more. So something that I've observed over the last 5 or 6 years, or actually probably even longer, just generally in our Australian environment, is we think that when we need really high-tech advanced capability, we go and buy that we want to go and buy an overseas product for that. So, whether that might be, your washing machine or fridge at home, or whether that's motor vehicles, there's this tendency to want to go and purchase that from overseas, because for some reason many people seem to think that it must be higher quality if it's there. And so this applies, I think, to the space industry as well. And I mean this for, society at large, as well as, politicians and senior people in defence and companies like us. We all need to believe in ourselves that we can build this capability here. And there's a couple of reasons for that. It starts with the really smart people that are coming out of university. The universities are doing a really great job, and all of the people going through university are just so impressive how smart they are and how quickly they become so very useful to companies like us when they start their career. It's the classic adage of employ people who are smarter than you is absolutely what we're doing here. And all the interns that we get through in our summer internship program and all our graduates are way more clever than I was when I came out of university. I think the other thing in Australia is we've demonstrated over a very long period of time that we're really good at being agile and innovative. So we might not have as much money as what other countries have to be able to throw into things, but that makes us smarter about how we go about attacking these sorts of problems. And so we need to be more innovative to then be able to produce capability that can compete in the global marketplace. And I think, whether that's from, 100 years ago with the Hills hoist right through to, the black box for aeroplanes, and now, for spacecraft and rockets and all of the other technology that goes with the space industry, I think we've got a wonderful opportunity to grow. And of course, very importantly, very topical at the moment, it's so wonderful to see the path that Catherine Bennell-Pegg has travelled over the last year or so, having, of course, been now the first Australian trained under the Australian flag to become an astronaut. I was very fortunate and privileged to have a chat with Catherine last week, and it's just so very exciting for her, but for all of us who know her and all the people that are now getting to know her. And I just can't wait to see her on her first space mission. It's just going to be so inspirational for, I think, everyone around the country, and really bring the focus into, what's possible for us to achieve.
Awesome. Keep sending in your questions for Ben. I'll just ask a couple more questions and then we'll get to the audience Q&A. So my last sort of theme to ask you about is any advice you have for students or people who are already in the workforce that might want to start a career in space?
So for students, I guess it's taken me a long time to learn that if I can connect what my passions are with my competencies, like what I'm good at, and find where that intersects, and then chase the things that I need to do to achieve that and get to that in my career, that's been really successful for me. If you're interested in the space industry, and I really hope you are, then if you're in even in primary school, my daughter recently entered the Oliphant Science Awards, which was a wonderful way for her to start exploring the space industry. She's written about space junk and enter that into that competition. So there's possibilities at the primary school level. At the high school level, look for work experience opportunities. I hope we look to the departments of education around the country to help facilitate those sorts of arrangements into companies like us. At the university level, companies like us and many others around the country I know run terrific internship programs. Definitely get on board with that. It's a great way to come in and experience for several months how we operate, what it's like to be in our company. We get to learn lots from you. We get to share lots about the space industry with you. And I have to say, with our internship program, people who come through as interns as us, many of them have ended up as employees with us. And if they haven't, they've typically secured a job with another space company pretty quickly. So we've got a pretty high success rate. For people who might be already in their career, the International Space University is a really terrific way to facilitate the leap into the industry. But I think importantly, I just finished by answering this question by saying relationships and networking is a really important way. People employ people. So get out and meet us. Come to things like the Australian Space Forum. Come find events that are going on. Get part of the group. We love chatting to people about what we do. So yeah, come and get involved.
Awesome. I would now like to move on to some questions from the audience. Feel free to keep sending them in. I'll start with the ones we already have. Someone says, thank you for your presentation. Is it the international and domestic interest in space industry focus specifically and only on specialists in space technology, or researchers have had a chance to find jobs in the space industry too?
Oh, look, yeah, there's, I think if I quote the space agency, there's a space for everyone in the space industry. So there is no doubt that there's no getting away from the fact that engineers are the dominant career path, I suppose, within the industry, but that's from like a university training. But there are roles for so many more people. So, you know, lawyers are really important to us, communications and people are really important to us. There's a whole range of different science and physics capabilities that are really important in the industry. There's all the business development and sales side to what we do. So yeah, please don't be concerned if you haven't studied engineering at uni. There's definitely opportunities for you, and I can reinforce that by saying I am not an engineer, and I've got a great job in the industry. In terms of just then tackling like research, I guess I think about the industry. The key areas of the industry would be probably broken into sort of the research angle, which might be doing research working through universities or places like the SmartSat CRC. Then there's government roles, so particularly the Australian Space Agency, but there's a whole range of roles in other organisations like the CSIRO, which probably also straddles the research area, the Bureau of Meteorology, Geoscience Australia, and all through the Department of Defence, Defence Space Command, and a whole range of other really interesting areas throughout government. There's plenty of opportunities there as well. Then on the commercial side, the roles expand from startups, one or two people, with a brilliant idea, hopefully going to come and disrupt the market in some new way, through to small to medium companies like us at about 55 people, all the way through to the primes like Lockheed Martin at some very large number of people. So it's actually really important to understand that ecosystem and then think about what area might suit you best.
Yeah, awesome. This person also asks about the International Space University Southern Hemisphere Space Program. Is it mostly space technology related?
It's of the sort of 42 or so different topics that you cover off. It's reflective of the nature of it. So yes, engineering subjects in there. There are astronomy subjects, but there's also media training. There's project management capability. There's how to market and sell your products. There's a really broad range, which is again why I really recommend it, because it's suitable for everyone. And the people that go on that course are from all different backgrounds, and everyone's capable of learning a lot.
Yeah, awesome. Another question from the audience. Space junk is, of course, a problem at the moment. What do you think we should be doing at the moment to mitigate the consequences of this issue in the future?
This is a very complicated problem, I think, for us to solve, and perhaps not dissimilar to the challenges of solving environmental issues on the planet. So there's a couple of different parts to this. I've had learnt more as my daughter learnt more science awards. So I think it starts with the Australian Space Agency, who are providing the regulatory framework within the guidelines of internationally accepted norms around what's the responsible way for Australia and all Australian companies to operate in space. A simple example of that is the regulations require companies like us who are sending the spacecraft into orbit that we need to have a plan for how it will deorbit safely, so that it doesn't remain in space forever. And of course, there's a whole range of regulations around the launch of rockets into space as well, that I know part of that includes similar sorts of issues. Then I think it comes to commercial companies like us being responsible for how we conduct ourselves. So we at Inovor think very carefully about what is it that we manufacture the spacecraft out of, what is the lifetime of it in space going to be, and how do we ensure that we're not adding to the existing issues. We've got some companies in the ecosystem who play really important roles in helping us understand what is there, because if we don't know what's there, we don't know what the problem is we're trying to solve. A really great company that does that is Leo Labs. So Leo Labs provide terrific tracking of orbits that are in, satellites that are, or objects that are in orbit, in low Earth orbit. And so their ability to know where all those things are, and also then be able to provide information to satellite companies about potential collisions that might happen with enough warning so that we're able to do something about that, I think is also really important to minimising the continued expansion of issues with space junk that arise from collisions. I'm actually sure that there's a whole lot more to it, but that's at least a small sample size of some of the things that we need to think about.
Yeah, thank you so much. Before we wrap up, is there any concluding statements you'd like to say to the audience?
I just really want to thank everyone so much for spending time to come online today and listen. Very happy to chat to more people afterwards. So, please follow Inovor Technologies on social media platforms or reach out to me personally. I just want to guarantee anyone who's not in the space industry that there's such exciting times ahead. It's a really cool industry to work in right now. There are jobs available right now. And so, yeah, really encourage you to think about what you might want to do in space.
Awesome. That's all the time we have for today. Thank you for joining us, Ben, and thank you to our audience for listening. It's been fantastic. And if you would like to learn more about space in Australia, please reach out to Ben and Inovor or to the Australian Space Discovery following the contact details on our website, or come on in person to the Australian Space Discovery Centre if you're in or around Adelaide. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. It was lovely to meet you, Ben. Thank you very much.
Thank you.